Now let's move on to fundamentals. So let's do the capture one. Here it's basically the same as the stars, so we just take and take. Okay, this one, if we take the pawn, the rook can capture us. So we first take the rook and then we take the pawn. And notice that in a real chess game, obviously white gets one turn and black gets one turn. But still, even in a real game, you wouldn't capture this pawn because on the next turn, black would capture you. So you first take the rook, and then in a real game, black would move, I don't know, here, and then you go here, and then he goes forward, and then you take. So that's how a real game goes, but here we have unlimited turns, so now we just take the pawn. This one, so the pawn is defended. We cannot take it. This rook is undefended, so we first take this one. Then we can go back to capture the f rook, because the rook is defending the pawn, so we first capture the rook and then we capture the pawn. Now let's move on to protection. Here we have to get the rook to a protected square, a square where it's not attacked. So the bishop is currently attacking the rook and this bishop is covering the b1 square. So the only move we have is rook c1. Okay, this one, the queen is attacking the knight. Let's see which squares the queen covers. So it sees, obviously, also in the back. So it sees all of those squares. Now where can we move the knight? We can go, we have 4 options actually. We can go to all of those squares and he cannot take us, so let's go here. Okay, this one, the knight is attacked, but we have a rook here. So as you can see, we cannot move the knight. So the only way to defend it here is to defend it with the rook. So we just slide the rook over. Now let's move on to the combat. Now here we have to not allow black to take anything. So if we attack the rook can take the pawn. So we first move the pawn out of the way of the rook and then we take the rook. Now another one, if we attack the rook can take. If we take the bishop, rook can take our bishop. So we first defend the pawn, then we have to take the rook, because if you take the bishop we still lose our bishop. So we first take the rook and then we take the bishop. Now let's go to check in 1. So this is just check, not checkmate. So check is an attack on the king. So this is an attack on the king. We cannot go here because the bishop would take. So we go check. Another one, we cannot go here, we cannot go here. So the only other square is this one, because the knight cannot take us. So check. Okay, this one, we cannot go here because the rook takes, but we can go here. Obviously the pawn will block, but it's still a check. Okay, now let's go to the out of check. So we have to move our king out of the check. Obviously in a game, when you're gonna play online games, you wouldn't be able to move the king up because this is an illegal move, because it's also in check. So in a real game you would have only 4 options, but here we also can move up, but obviously this one gets taken. So we can move anywhere. So I mean, let's go here, I guess. Okay, another one. Here we also have a lot of options, but only when you're gonna play in online games, you're only gonna have 1 square because all of the others are illegal. So now let's look at what square is that. So the knight covers these 2, the bishop and then the queen. So we only are left with 1 option, and that is to go to b4. And now let's move on to mate in 1. So this is the purpose of the game, checkmate. That means that the king, so this is a checkmate when the queen is here. So the queen cannot be taken because it's defended by the bishop. The queen cannot be blocked because there is nothing in between. There are no squares in between the queen and the king. And also the king cannot go anywhere because obviously here it's blocked, and it cannot go here because the queen is also attacking this square. So this is checkmate. Okay, another one. We go here. If we go pawn takes pawn, he can take with the king or the rook. If we go here, the king is attacked. The knight is the only piece that cannot be blocked because it jumps over pieces, so you cannot block the knight. And obviously the king cannot move anywhere because it's in the corner. So this is checkmate. And that's it.